Trước khi bắt đầu, nếu bạn đang tìm kiếm sách để học IELTS hiệu quả, thì đây là những cuốn sách chúng mình khuyên dùng. Nó có thể giúp bạn đạt điểm IELTS từ 7.0 tới 8.0. Bạn hãy xem ở phần giỏ hàng trong kênh nhé. Cảm ơn bạn đã ủng hộ kênh.
Part 1. You will hear a woman talking to a man about hiring a room for a party.
Good morning, the function company. Can I help you?
Hi. A friend told me that you can arrange rooms for hire for parties and things like that.
That's right. We have about 10 hotels on our list and we hire out function rooms on their behalf. Are you having a party?
Yes, it's for my birthday, my 21st.
Okay. First of all, can you tell me how many people you're inviting?
I'm not sure yet. It depends on the cost.
Okay. Well, the Exchange Hotel might be a good choice for you. They have a room which will seat up to 45 and will take 65 people standing. Are you going to have a meal or just a buffet?
I think a buffet. It doesn't have to be a sit-down meal. I don't know the Exchange Hotel. Can you tell me a bit more about it?
Well, it was built about 150 years ago. We regularly arrange parties there. They have a room for hire on the 5th floor. It's not the most central hotel, but it's very easy for people to find. It's very popular for wedding parties, so I'll have to check if it's available.
Okay. Is the room nice? Have you seen it?
I have. It's quite big and very light, but the best thing is that it has a wonderful view. On a fine evening, you can see for miles.
Oh, sounds good. How much is it?
It's £32 a head. That includes the hire of the room and the standard buffet, but not drinks. And you have to have at least 35 guests.
Well, that won't be a problem. We're likely to be more than that. Can you tell me when it's available?
I can check that for you. Which dates are you looking at?
Ideally the middle to end of April. Weekends.
Let me see. They can do any Saturday in April, but not Fridays or Sundays.
Okay. But if I want something bigger, what would you recommend?
There's the Limerick Hotel.
How do you spell that? Oh, I'm taking notes.
It's Limerick. There's a large room there which seats up to 75 people, or there's room for 125 standing.
Oh, I expect we'll be standing. Where is it?
It's in the business district, so public transport's good. It's got a large car park too, though. The room's on the ground floor and it's recently been refurbished.
Is there a garden we could use if we're on the ground floor?
There's a small one that would be available.
Oh, sounds nice, especially if it's a warm evening. And the cost?
The buffet is £36 per person. Shall I check availability in April for you?
Yes, please.
OK. You said weekends, didn't you?
Yes.
No Fridays again, and it's not free on the first Saturday. That's the 6th. But it's free on the 13th and 20th.
Thank you. I think the first hotel looks best for me, but I need 2 or 3 days to think about it.
OK. Well, if I take your booking today, I can hold it for a week. So if you want to change your mind or have a look at other possible hotels, we can do that. To confirm the booking, I then need a deposit of 35%. You pay the other 65% 10 days before the party.
OK, and when do I have to confirm numbers?
The number of guests needs to be confirmed 5 days before the party, and you also have to decide which menu you want then.
That sounds OK. I'll ring you on Monday. Is this your direct line? 368207?
I'll be out of the office on Monday, but you can call me on my mobile phone on 044 2 98611.
All right, I've got all that. I'll ring you back later. Thanks.
Bye then.
Part 2. You will hear a guide talking to a group of tourists who are going to spend a day on an island.
Well, morning everyone. Welcome to Palm Island. First, I'll run through the plan for the day. So, the idea is that in the morning you'll go for a walk. There are actually a number of different walks on the island, so I'll describe each one and then you can choose. So there's the boundary walk. This is one of the longer walks and it will appeal especially to people who love the coastline. And in fact, the tide is out today, so it'll be perfect for exploring the very old rock formations behind the beach. A good option is the loop track. Now, this is quite short, but don't be misled by that because it's very hilly and you need to be quite fit. The reward, though, is that you'll be able to see right down the length of the island and even across to the mainland. It'll be pretty as a picture on a fine day like today. There's the Pururi Walk, which follows one of the earliest trails that was built on the island. Unfortunately, the track's been damaged slightly by a storm, but it's still passable. The nice thing is, about halfway there's a table and chairs. They've recently been restored and painted, in fact, and it's a great place to eat your packed lunch and have a rest. You could also walk up to North Head. This is an inland walk. You'll hardly get a glimpse of the sea the whole way, but the attraction is you'll pass through a large area of very old native bush. The number of birds is amazing, including several rare species. You'll find some are quite tame, but please don't give them any food. Okay, well, after your walk, the bus will take you to the regional park where you can relax for a couple of hours before going home. Now, if you look at your maps of the regional park, I'll just describe a few things you can do. So the bus will drop you at the park entrance right at the bottom of the map. One interesting place is the bird colony. To get there from the park entrance, you go up the path to the lake. About halfway round the east side of the lake, you need to turn off and take the path all the way out to the coast. You'll find the colony there, overlooking a little island. Now, if you'd like a swim, remember that not all the beaches are really suitable in this wind. For the safest place, follow the path north from the park entrance, but before you get to the lake, turn right and go down there to the beach. Something that people find interesting is the old ship. It's more than 100 years old. To get there, just north of the park entrance, you take the path which heads towards Okiwi Bay. Then walk along the coast a little way before turning right and following that path over to Rocky Bay. You'll see the wharf, go past that, and the ship is just along there. A long walk, but one that's well worth it, is up to Stony Batter. You follow the path right around the lake to the far side and keep heading north. But if you reach the water tower, you've gone too far. Before that, you want to turn off to your left and take the path to the coast. Now, where else is there? Oh yes, the Settlers Monument. That's popular. So from the park entrance, take the first path on the left and follow it around behind Okiwi Bay. The monument is out at the end there on the headland. Finally, if all this exercise has made you thirsty, there's a kiosk where you can get hot and cold drinks. It's easy to find beside the lake, right on the water's edge. Well, now, if anyone has any questions, feel free.
Section 3. You will hear two trainee teachers called Dean and Hannah talking about their recent teaching practice in an elementary school.
Hi, Dean. Did you have a good weekend?
Yes.
It was good to relax after a whole week of teaching practice. I really enjoyed the experience, though.
Yes, so did I. And I think it went well. Anyway, are you okay to talk about the report we've got to write on the geography lesson we taught together? I was thinking we could make notes now and then divide the actual writing up between us.
Sure, good idea. Let's begin with our lesson aims, shall we?
Right, well, I know the main one was getting the class to think about how people in different parts of the world are connected to each other through the things they buy and sell.
Yes, we took that from the syllabus for grade 4, and then we decided to use pencils as our example, because they're relatively simple in design and everyone's used a pencil at some time or other. We should include that information too.
Right. And we also wanted to get the class thinking about how things are moved around the world in different ways, from the farms and the mines to the factories and then the stores. That wasn't in the core syllabus. I think we added that ourselves.
Yes, I think you're right.
Okay. Then the last section of the report contains a post-lesson analysis.
We have to mention any problems we identified in our lesson when we taught it. So, any ideas?
Well, I know we were really satisfied with our handouts and worksheets. We both thought they'd been at just the right level for the class. And I don't know about you, but I think we worked well as a team.
Absolutely. Neither of us was too dominant, and we supported each other. Personally, the thing I think we didn't get right was the way we paced things. Some things seemed to be rushed, and others seemed to drag out too long. I don't know how you feel about that.
The same as you. If we did the same lesson again, I'd want to make some adjustments to that, but keep the same basic lesson plan.
Okay, we see eye to eye on that. But there's one other thing. At the time, I seem to remember we both thought that organizing the children in sets of 6 didn't work very well, and that pairs would have been better for certain tasks, so that the shyer kids got more chance to contribute.
Yes, I remember that too, and we should put it into our report as well.
Now, should we go over our lesson plan together before we write the report? It seems ages ago now.
Fine. Well, the whole lesson was based on the production and distribution of pencils. First, we gave out the pencils and got the students to decide what they're made of. Then, when they'd come up with all 5 of the component materials, we talked about which countries produce most of these materials.
Oh, yes. And we got volunteers to come to the front and mark the location of those on a map of the world. I remember they were really keen to volunteer. We had to stop them from calling the answers out loud.
Right. Then we brainstormed all the different ways of getting goods from one place to another, and what the advantages and disadvantages of each one would be. I remember one girl talking about using horses.
That's right. She seemed to be a bit stuck in the past. It was hard not to smile.
Yes. After that, we put them in small groups, and each group represented each of the countries on the map. They had to use their atlases to decide an itinerary for sending their raw materials to the USA, specifying the different ports and places on the way there.
That's right. And by the time they'd done that, it was break time.
And after the break, they had to imagine they were pencil manufacturers in Chicago and fill in details on a worksheet about how they dispatch their pencils to different parts of the country.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And then we had a class discussion about whether people will still be using pencils in 2050 and whether the design of pencils is likely to change. And to round the lesson off, the kids had to spend 10 minutes planning a short presentation for another class about possible developments. And that was it.
Good. So I'll write up that part and
Section 4.
I'd like to give you a brief overview of a research project I've been working on as part of a team of 4. We wanted to get some data on what happens to students after they graduate, and also find out how useful they felt their degree course was to them. We focused on graduates from the course in business management, since this is one of the most popular and long-established courses. We decided to use two different data-gathering methods. We started off by emailing a brief questionnaire to all last year's graduates from that course, and then we selected a number of those who had replied, and with them we carried out phone interviews. We'd originally intended to use face-to-face interviews, but didn't feel that would be practical. And in fact, we found this method provided a combination of wide coverage and depth, which is what we wanted. So, what did we find? Well, I suppose our most surprising finding was just how many graduates had gone on to work towards an additional qualification, rather than getting a job immediately. That was 32%, almost a third. Of the rest, a very small proportion were unemployed, just 4%, and all the rest were in employment. More than half of them were in the public sector, with a sizable minority in the private sector, and a small number in the not-for-profit sector. We were also interested in the attitudes of those who were employed towards their work. The majority said that their expectations had been fulfilled. They were generally satisfied in terms of their salary and also happy with their prospects for career development, with very few of them feeling that they were in a dead-end job with no prospects of promotion. For the second main part of our research, we wanted to get some feedback from the graduates on how useful they felt their degree course had been to them. There were really three main skills which the graduates felt they'd gained from doing the course and identified as having been the most valuable to them. They highlighted the fact that they developed the ability to work as members of a team. Another skill which they cited as valuable was that of personal organisation, things like meeting deadlines, time management and so on. And finally, a lot of them said that what they'd learned about approaches to problem solving had been very useful. We also asked them about which elements of the course had been least valuable to them. To our surprise, the thing that was mentioned most often here was presentations. They hadn't enjoyed having to give these as part of their course, nor had they found it useful having to listen to those given by their fellow students. The reason given for this was that they felt they weren't trained how to do it properly. And the second thing that got very negative feedback was work on essay writing. Most people thought this was unnecessary and that it would have been better to work on report writing. And finally, some respondents said that they would have liked more guidance on the best way to go about looking for a job, that the course could have done more to help them. Finally, we asked if there were any skills